Draw for first, second, and third place in their opening statements. Each candidate has 3 minutes to introduce themselves, and we will be starting with Kathy Stahl. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. I would like to just start out by thanking everyone. I would like to start out by just thanking everyone to take time out of their busy schedules this evening to be here and listen to my discussion and learn why I am the best qualified candidate to represent District 1 at City Hall. I grew up in Oshkosh and also earned my Bachelor of Science degree in microbiology there. I also lived in Fond du Lac, Neenah, and Appleton, where I also owned homes. While working as a research scientist for Kimberly-Clark for 15 years, I had the opportunity to travel extensively, successfully navigating the business world. The experiences have given me a perspective that increases my appreciation for my life here in Menasha. We have so many unique qualities, and our people top that list. The spirit of this community is truly something worth nurturing, and that is my goal as alderman. I began this endeavor with all kinds of facts and data that I wanted to share so that people could make informed decisions about the allocations of their tax dollars and Menasha's future. As a trained scientist, I believe in doing my homework and gathering all the facts before making decisions. I will use these skills as an alderman before making decisions that affect people's lives. I will use these skills as an alderman. One of the aspects of this incredible journey I was not prepared for was the overwhelming support I have experienced from my community as I began meeting people one by one and listening to their concerns. The residents and downtown business owners in my district need representation that focuses on their future and their needs. I have heard too many neighbors say they don't know their alderman. This is especially troubling when coming from business owners that need help establishing and growing as our downtown transforms into a destination for visitors and investors alike. I also work downtown for a business that has been run by the same family for 3 generations. This opportunity gives me invaluable insight into the struggles faced by many downtown business owners. The west side of Doty Island has been neglected for years by the current administration. We have been left to fend for ourselves without representation for years now. As your alderman, I promise to represent everyone, not just the privileged few. The taxpayers of Menasha deserve representation from a leader that has a passion for working with all people and helping them improve their quality of life and their property values. I volunteer my time to serve Menasha in our Rotary Club, Doty Island Development Council, and the business owners of Menasha Group. I will also work for my entire district as alderman to maximize our community's potential. I have my life savings invested in Menasha. I own 2 homes, one of which has been rented to the same family for 5 years. I am all too aware of the significance of rising taxes. I am unable to pass along the increases to my tenants and expect them to stay. This is a situation many residents of Menasha face, both as landlords and tenants, challenged with providing and affording housing. We live in a city with some of the highest taxes around, and they are going up another 2.5% this year. Spending needs to be controlled without continued neglect of our basic services. Controlling taxes is paramount to enticing developers to our downtown and waterfront and increasing revenue. We have several large projects on the horizon that will further increase our debt if not managed properly.
Okay, Kathy, thank you. Stan, your turn.
I also want to thank the league and also everyone that appeared here today. It's a pretty good crowd. I've done this for, let's see now, 11 times. And a little louder. Sorry. Usually
just
I'm
a little
too
closer.
Loud. Anyways, thank you, league, and everyone for being here. And my one constituent that's here, thank you for being here. I've served with the city. I started with the city in 1981. I was elected Menasha's youngest alderman. I still hold that record out. I've been involved in the city's policies longer pretty much than anyone in this room. I know the history and the reasonings behind decisions made and whether those decisions were good or bad. These experiences have prepared me to be a very good alderman. My education and my business background, plus the 3.5 years that I served with the Winnebago County Board, make me more suited for this position more than ever. I have worked hard. Does someone want to turn off their phone?
I'm sorry.
I've worked hard to improve our city, not only for the constituents which I served, but also in my community service. I served 17 years on the Doty Island Development Council on their board, 20 plus years with the Menasha Action Council. My proudest service, though, has been with Menasha's youth. 24 years now. I'm the founding member of the Prime Time for Teens program, which is a park and rec program with the city of Menasha. I'm running because I want to continue to reduce our city's debt and continue the city council's work on increasing the city's bond rating. I'm proud of my many accomplishments. Let's reach new goals, like improve Jefferson Park, reduce our debt, institute a better road maintenance program, expand Lake Park Villa area, work to improve the R.R. Dunley, the dam, Gilbert site area, and let's start marketing this wonderful community, Menasha. You know my love and dedication to this city. I look forward to using my experiences along with my passion to effectively help lead this city into the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Stan. You're up, Becky.
Welcome and good evening. Thank you to the League of Women Voters for organizing the event, to the library for hosting us, to my fellow candidates, and all of you for being here this evening. I'm Becky Nichols, and I am the alderman in the 1st District. My husband Jeff and I have been married for 11 and a half years. We own our home on Elm Street, where we live with our 2 children, Ava and Carl, both of whom attend Menasha Public Schools. My husband Jeff works at Evergreen Credit Union and serves on the Board of Appeals for Menasha. Our family is very active in our church and community. My 8 years of experience on the Board of Directors of Doty Island Development Council, 3 as the president, provided an opportunity to connect with many residents of Doty Island in the 1st District and to learn more about your values and what's important to you. I worked side by side with a neighbor on Locust Street last year to cut and hang drywall with her in what would become her new home. I rolled up my sleeves for the Jefferson Park Rock the Block to help install a new deck for some residents who have lived their entire lives here in Menasha. And I assembled playground equipment at our newest park on Tana Lane. You'll also find me planting trees on Arbor Day, walking in the Memorial Day and Labor Day parades, attending Veterans Day ceremonies, and many other community events. So what have we accomplished over the past 2 years? We see a bustling downtown with well-established businesses and some new ones. Faith Technologies has expanded their footprint, bringing jobs and economic activity to our downtown. A beautiful new riverwalk at the Gilbert site. Loop the Lake will be done this fall. And Shepherd Park is getting some improvements that have been much neglected for years. 2 years ago, you sent a strong message that you wanted more recycling pickups, and we got it done. And I'm proud to say that we've done all of this and so much more while holding the line on taxes. I'm proud of these accomplishments and others all around the city. I'm running because we're just getting started and there's much more work to be done. It's been an honor to serve the residents of the 1st District over the past 4 years. I've gladly accepted your phone calls, emails, and general questions when we see each other around town. Together, we've celebrated accomplishments and worked through a few challenges as well. As your alderman, I will continue to get to know you, to listen to you, to work with you, and to keep Menasha a great place to live, work, and raise a family. Thank you.
Thank you, Becky. And now we'll have one of our League board members, Peggy Cox, read a statement from Melissa Sutner.
You look different.
I'm running for City Council representing District 3. I first want to apologize for not attending this forum. Unfortunately, I had already had a prior commitment. I believe in helping out the community and volunteering to give back in an intricate part in doing what we can to better the place we live. Tonight I will be attending a meeting where I am a volunteer coordinator for a few hundred volunteers preparing for a fundraising event to take place in a few weeks. This event allows me the opportunity to reach out to many of the youth and several families and to look for new ways to continue to move Menasha forward, which I intend to continue to do if I am elected as your representative for City Council. Having been born and raised in Menasha my whole life, I'm very proud of my hometown. I have been recognized by my several years of community involvement with both youth and adults, along with my parents who are also very well known in the area. My community theater, Shooting Stars, has been around for 16 plus years. I believe each and every person is unique and special, just like the citizens of this great community. I feel Menasha is moving in the right direction towards a more promising future. I'd like to keep the momentum going. The City Council needs to continue to keep listening to what the citizens of the community have to say. I'd like to be their voice, and together we can continue to build a better Menasha. As a leader in my community, I have been listening to what both the citizens and businesses of Menasha have to say. I believe deeply that teamwork and cooperative and progressive mindsets are what our citizens seek in their leaders. I will bring a positive, fresh, new look and progressive ideas that are sustainable to attract families to our community, to continue to better Menasha. We need to continue to move forward. We cannot go backwards. We've come too far already. I want to continue to be your voice to make this happen. I am motivated and eager to work with a group of individuals who understand that we need to keep moving Menasha forward. The citizens of Menasha deserve quality services, cultural experiences, and safety for their families. As a community, we can succeed in making Menasha a destination for families and businesses by working together to promote what we already have and what we can create in the years to come. District 3 needs a leader who is focused on the future of Menasha and will promote growth and attract new businesses to our community.
Peggy, do you want to save some of that for the closing?
Is it over with?
Yeah, you got 2 seconds.
She had another 3/4 of a page, so
Well,
you
you'll have
can talk
another.
to her if you'd like to find out more about her.
Okay, now it's time for the questions from the audience, and we have more than we're going to get to. We're going to start with Kathy for no, that was last time. We're going to start with Becky this time for this first question, and then we'll go down the line. Okay, audience question. We know we will be affected by many cuts being made by state and federal government. Will you work to keep Menasha focused on developing a viable vision to improve our quality of life in Menasha, or focus on further cutting services to reduce taxes? Becky?
That's a great question to start the evening with. I have always focused on promoting quality of life for the residents here in Menasha, and that includes offering the best services we possibly can to our residents. I've spoken with a lot of folks in the district, and I hear from them, we love Menasha. Menasha is the best kept secret in the Fox Valley. I hear, that's what I hear. We love it here. And so this is a special place. And it's up to us as leaders in our community to maintain that quality of life, because we are competing for people. We compete with other communities for people to work here and to live here, to send their kids to school here. So it's important that we offer the best quality of life as possible to remain competitive with other communities.
Okay, we'll go to Kathy next.
thank you. Yeah, I am aware of the fact that we are having state and federal cuts, and that will affect our city negatively. As a result, I think we need to focus on growth from within, and that means increasing our revenue. We have a lot of hefty projects on the horizon here, and if not managed properly, they're going to increase our taxes and prevent us from having the ability to weather all of these budget cuts, state and federal cuts. The taxes in Menasha are going up another 2.5% this year, and that is not going to help us, weather the storm with these changes. I have a few figures here that I would like to share with you that make it more important than ever to pay attention to the cuts that are becoming more apparent as the days go on. We are required to pay down on our debt every year, and that is not going to change. We are around $37 million in debt, and at our current rate, it's going to take 100 years to pay that back. That is something that needs to be addressed, and it needs to be addressed seriously in order for Menasha to be able to move forward and provide basic services to our public. We borrowed another $2.9 million this year just for general operating costs, and that is not what I would consider the correct approach going forward to help Menasha grow. I would like to see us focus more on controlling spending, focusing on basic services, and paying down our debt. And the only way we can do that is to increase revenue. That needs to be done by enticing investors to our community. We have several vacant buildings here downtown, and we're soon to be owners of the Bonta site, and there's currently no plans for that development. Those are great opportunities for us to take advantage of our waterfront property.
Okay, thank you. Stan, you're up.
We've got the mics over here.
Yeah, reposition that microphone.
All right. 2 years ago, I kind of talked about the fact that our governor was going to cut our recycling funds by 50%. And reality is what we ended up doing was expanding our recycling. But this is a service people wanted. And I said I would keep an open mind. But what we also need to do, we need to do things different in this community. And number one, my approach was we need to educate our citizens first. Because there were a lot of people, for instance, in this recycling issue, didn't know that they could actually put another container next to their container if it got full. And when I talked to people door to door, they didn't know that. So we got to do things different. Menasha has always done that. That's what keeps our taxes down. Another example, when we used to spray the ice rink, our guys were creative, and they created a piece of equipment that laid the water down. You've probably seen this big old truck that they invented themselves. We're one of the first communities that start laying the salt solution on our roads so that we didn't have to plow so much. Automation. People laugh, my friends laugh at me when I talk about how great Menasha has been with garbage collection and recycling through automation. At one time we had 3 individuals on a truck. Now we just have the one. This is how you save taxpayers money. You do things differently. You think outside the box. And as far as keeping taxes down, you need to grow Menasha. And in order to grow Menasha, this way it can offset our tax base. And I think our city staff has done actually a really good job of collecting revenues for our community.
Thank you, Stan. Okay, this next question, we're going to start with you, Kathy. Politics are so divisive nowadays. How will you build bridges with those in your district who may not have voted for you?
As I stated in my opening statement, I will build those bridges through information and fact sharing. I think when people have the information and facts at hand, they're capable of making decisions based on that. I feel that currently there are some gaps in understanding the the city government and what the priorities are. I would like to see that more clearly detailed so everyone is on the same page and they understand where the city is going, the direction we are going, and what our future looks like. I think there are many times we let private developers dictate our future, and I don't agree that that's the best course. In order to bridge those gaps between people that don't necessarily support me at this time, I would do my best to convince them that working together is the way Menasha will succeed and the way we will move forward in achieving the goals that we want. I think Jefferson Park is a huge example of that community effort. I have been to all the planning meetings that were held right here in this library, and I've seen many people coming and expressing their concerns, people that don't live by the park, but people that use the park. And I think that's a good example of how the community has come together. We find a commonality, and we work towards the same goals. People compromise, people make adjustments in what their expectations are, but in the end, we should all be happy with where we're going. The other aspect I see as I go door to door talking with people is the confusion around our Racing Street Bridge project. I think by eliminating the confusion and some of those fallacies that might be out there, again, we're going to bring people together so they understand what the options are, why we're doing what we're doing, and understanding things aren't being done to inconvenience. It's being done because it's the best decision for everybody.
Thank you. Stan, your turn.
Okay, thank you. The nice thing about running in a local election is that it's nonpartisan. And that has been very beneficial because it is true. You look on the national level, on the state level, things have been so divided. It's almost made me not want to even enter this race this time around. I have to prove to my constituents that I'm going to be a good alderman. That's what I have to do to earn their respect. And one way you do that is through good communications. And what I'd like to do is I'd like to start what a former colleague of mine did. His name was Woody Weber. He served on the city council. He had a newsletter that he used to put out. I always liked that idea, and I'd like to borrow that idea from him, and I'd like to create a newsletter. Also, I would do the same, and the reason I would do a newsletter is because not everybody in my district is on the web. But I would also have a website where people can, from time to time, look at, and it won't be Facebook, because Facebook is a different dogma. It kind of brings out the worst of people, I think, and people hide behind that. But most importantly, I want to, and I always feel I've done this, I've always brought people into the process. I believe that public involvement is important because when we don't get all sides of this story, we're not doing our constituents justice. And I think that's one thing that I've been really impressed with the DOT lately, especially with all our road projects out here, is that they really did a bang-up job this year getting our community involved and letting them know what's going on. So I hope that I can do the same.
Thank you. Becky?
Thank you. Wow, the first two questions this evening, really great questions, and the fact that they've come up here this evening really speaks volumes about our community. This last year, I started a leadership training program. It's known as Wisconsin's premier community leadership training program, Leadership Wisconsin. And the purpose of that organization is to train leaders who can create positive change in their communities. And one of the skills we've been working on is bringing together folks from diverse backgrounds, different perspectives, to talk about issues that are important in communities around Wisconsin, to learn how communities have dealt with these challenges. Working on ways to help members of communities find common ground to solve problems and to do it together. I truly believe that deep down, all of us want what's best for Menasha. I'm excited to be able to bring back those skills to this community and put them to work for us. What's best for Menasha is our common ground. And when we get there, when we find our common ground, anything is possible.
Thank you. We'll start with Stan for this next question. You were anticipating that, I can tell.
Yep.
Okay. This is a two-part question. What is your definition of a TIF district, and what is your opinion of it? Is it a benefit or a downfall?
I actually got a little information on that. That question comes up every time. Well, this isn't the definition, but the purpose of a TIF was, number one, to provide utilities, streets, demolition, parking ramp. But in a developing area that is going to be under the TIF, its main purpose was to remove blight. Originally, when it started, that's what it was about, taking care of some old buildings in the downtown or some old industry or something. And then the second component of that was to create jobs. And I think we've gotten away from that. Now, and I shouldn't say we, not the cities, but the legislature has. They've changed the rules so much that almost anyone now can have a TIF and use it for almost any purpose. TIFs have worked for Menasha. We've closed out 2 TIFs. They weren't the best, but what they did do is change the whole dynamic of downtown Menasha. Most of you may remember, but not all of you will. Downtown Menasha was a dump. It was terrible. I guess I just don't have another word for it. And when some of us came up with the idea of digging out a marina, they thought we were nuts. And the TIF helped create that, and it created all the development that you see around it. None of that was there before. Jim Taylor's in the audience. Someday, James, you should show your slideshow of former Menasha and what we've done over the years. You'd be surprised. I still am in favor of TIF. I think we have too many of them, but I see my time right now. Sorry.
That's okay. Okay, let's go to Becky next.
The purpose of a TIF is to promote the orderly development of our city. It is a way to assist in the development and pay for the public improvements that are needed for that development to happen. TIFs are a benefit to our community. They are a tool to help us remain competitive with our neighbors. I'm going to use the example of 2 TIFs that we have in our city. TIF 9, which is around Oneida Street, and TIF 12, which is our Lake Park area, our newest neighborhoods out there. From 2015 to 2016, those 2 TIFs combined added $7 million in additional value to our city. That's how we grow from the inside, expanding our tax base and hold the line on taxes. The city has changed over the years how it creates TIFs. Our newest TIFs are developer financed, which means the developer actually assumes some of the risk, thereby reducing the risk for the city. Performance incentives are built in, and if the developer does not perform, the incentives are not paid. This results in a balanced partnership between the city and the developer that benefits both parties. As your alderman, I will always examine each project individually and weigh the pros and cons. I will make every effort to ask the right questions, evaluate the facts, and make decisions that are based on the best value for the taxpayer and in the best interest of the city.
Thank you. Your turn, Kathy.
Thank you. It's going to be a little hard to answer that first part of that question without echoing what we've already heard. My knowledge of TIFs is that they are created to help with development and the blighted issues, as Stan mentioned. But we also have to realize that by creating TIFs, we are diverting tax dollars, and if not managed properly, that can result in tax increases for the community. That is something that, as I mentioned in my opening statement, we need to be very careful how we manage these things and how many we create. I am not in favor of extending TIFs beyond their designated time frame. I know that was just recently voted upon in the council, and I think that they should be held to their original time frame. That's one stance I will take. The other thing I would like to just mention is I believe currently Menasha has too many TIFs, and this is affecting our tax rate, and if we want to keep our taxes from increasing, we need to be more aware of this. Not only do our TIFs affect the city of Menasha, but they also affect our neighbors in Fox Crossing, because those school tax dollars are being diverted and they have to be made up somewhere. And I'm not sure how many of you are aware that Fox Crossing also contributes to our school tax. So that's one thing we have to be very sensitive to with our neighbors, and make sure that when we do this, it's for the right reason, it's for the right causes, and it's for the better of the community. When we're looking at all of the state and federal cuts that are approaching and about to be handed down to the city, creating new TIFs needs to be examined, and we need to be sure that it's the right thing to do. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to the next question. And this one, let's start with Becky. What would you change with the structure of our current community development, and how would you do it?
I'm assuming this is a question about our community development department. I think our community development department can be proud of the work that they've done over the last 4 years that I've been on the council, and before that. They have accomplished much in this community on a short staff, very short staff. There are 2 people that work in the department. There's an administrative person, and then a code enforcement officer that works part-time there and part-time in the police department. So on a short staff, they've done great things. If there was anything I could change, I would love to give them more staff. However, we would also have to weigh that with what we have available in funds to fund such a position, and what it would look like. The one thing we have done is we have found money to fund a full-time building inspector, which will help with some of our housing issues around the city. And I look forward to working more closely with that person to develop a housing renewal program that can support upgrades in our family-friendly neighborhoods, thus expanding our tax base.
Thank you. It's your turn, Kathy.
From my observations so far, our current community development structure I think is working very well. I have seen That, as an example, as I mentioned before, in the meetings in regards to the development of our Jefferson Park area, there has been a lot of community involvement, a lot of community interaction, and a lot of the input has been taken very seriously and incorporated into those plans. And I think in that regards that the community development is working for us and doing a good job. The other aspect I would like to touch upon is the replacement of our Racine Street Bridge. I've also attended all the public meetings in regards to those plans, and I have spoken with several business owners downtown on how that construction is going to affect their businesses as we approach that and the bridge is closed. What I would like to see our community development department do is push back on the DOT in regards to their schedule for the closing of the Racine Street Bridge and the closure of Main Street. I don't see any plans to mitigate those closures in order to help our downtown business owners maintain their profits. I was very surprised that many of those business owners did not even know that bridge was going to be closed for an entire year. And Main Street will also be closed when the roundabout is built. So I would like to see our community development team push back on the DOT and challenge that timing, challenge that timeline, and provide us with alternate routes to our downtown so we can minimize any impact to the success of our businesses there. Thank you.
Okay, Stan, your thoughts?
Thank you. Well, this goes back to what I was talking about earlier, and that is marketing Menasha. And this is where that would happen. This is one area where I worked really close with our mayor in the past. We did budget for a marketing person, but that wasn't approved completely by the mayor, by the council, and eventually dollars were taken out and we never hired that person. Other communities do that. Why do you see businesses popping up all over? Because they're out there recruiting all the time. I'm glad that Becky mentioned that the building inspector is now on board. Citizens asked for that to happen. We need to create also partnerships with both citizens and businesses. And one way you do that is what I created with the Doty Island Development Council. And that was an economic development committee, and we tried it in MAC. But on Doty Island, the face of Doty Island has changed since we created that committee. We've created so much development. We had facade restoration programs done. That the island changed when doing that. I'm also very strongly in favor of continuing our partnership with the Fox Regional Partnership. We need to work not just as Menasha, but as the Fox Valley, if the Menasha is to grow. You know, you go down the line, you look at all the industries that have left from R.R. Dunley, Gilbert, graphic packaging, Whiting. I mean, my God, that should be a red flag. We have to start focusing on bringing in good jobs in this area, or we're going to have a problem even collecting taxes. And then also there's the RDA. A lot of people don't know what the RDA is. It's the Redevelopment Authority, and they get like $280,000 out of, what TIF was that Becky was talking about? TIF 12, or $270,000. And they rarely meet. So that committee needs to start getting together and working more too.
Thank you. Okay, you've all mentioned something along these lines, I think, about partnerships. So continuing on that, this time we will start with Stan and go the other direction. Aren't you getting kind of dizzy otherwise? How do you plan to foster the partnership between the school district and the city?
Well, I probably differ here than anyone else on that particular issue. We talked about TIFs earlier, and this building that we are going in was one of our TIF projects. And now we have a building that created a tax base. And what happens? The school district buys that building, which doesn't pay taxes, and the city now is going in there. So for over 20-plus years, we used a TIF to create a development so that you, the taxpayers, could get a break down the line. And that's not going to happen. But what will happen is, I guess, City Hall is moving over into that new building. And I have issues with that because I know I'm not really focused on that question, but what are we going to do with the City Hall that's there now? I mean, there's a lot of things that's not being discussed. I think we already have great partnerships with the school district. That's not like we need to create new ones or whatever. The only difference is that we'll be closer together, probably working more in tune with one another. But we have our nurse who is also, that works with the school district. And there are other, the police department, when they have their parades, I mean, I know that even the city clerk has dealings with the school district, and we've always worked well together. I know when I was an alderman, there was a littering problem, and I worked with that school district. We met once a month to discuss how we can solve the littering problem in the neighborhood. And what we ended up doing was creating, you probably see them from time to time, these garbage cans, because what was happening, they go down to Taco Bell or whatever, and then they just throw their garbage. So I mean, to me, it's an ongoing thing that we have to do. Whether it's we need to improve on it, sure, why not?
Okay, thank you. Kathy?
Thank you. Yes, I guess I agree with Stan that I believe we currently have a pretty good relationship with our school district. That there are some things I see that need to be worked on, and I do agree that it is unfortunate that City Hall is going to be moving into that building and we're going to lose that revenue source that we currently have. But I believe it is a good partnership as far as the people that work in both of those departments, City Hall and the school district, that they are in one building and we'll be able to communicate a lot better in that regard. In fostering those relationships, I would also like to work with the neighbors, especially around our high school. I've had several comments from people, through the years of issues with people loitering, loud cars, people, gunning their car in and out of the parking lot and things like that. As far as fostering relationships between neighbors and, the school districts themselves, I think we need to work on some discipline at the high school and making sure everyone is considerate of their neighbors and not smoking in their front yard and littering in their front yard and speeding up and down the road, causing trouble in that regard. So, I guess the only other thing I'd like to just touch upon, I guess, is that we still need to be sensitive that our school district does also include Fox Crossing, and we can't ignore them when we're making decisions and decisions on spending money and on progress in our school systems. Thank you.
Those squealing of tires, that was the superintendent of schools.
Okay, Becky, you're up.
Thank you. First, let me say that Menasha is a great community and Menasha has great schools. I couldn't be prouder to send my kids to Menasha schools. The school in many communities is the heartbeat of that community. It's what binds people together. And so it's important that the city and the school district have a strong relationship. We share some of the same concerns. We're concerned about the socioeconomic status of some of our citizens. We're concerned about our affordable but older housing stock that needs some work, because we need those things to improve, to expand our tax base, both the city and the school district. It's important to them, and for the health and safety of our community. While the city and the school have a relationship, it's about to become stronger. We will be moving into the same building downtown, and I think that's a great thing for our city. It will have a huge economic impact on our downtown because more people will be there. I understand that City Hall will be there and not collecting revenue for the city, but it offers us another opportunity to add something to our downtown, to grow our tax base. So building a strong partnership with our school district is about building a strong community, and I support that.
Thank you. We have time for a 1-minute question. It's an easy one.
Is it a yes or no?
It can be if you want it to be. Do you feel citizens have the right to a referendum? That's the entire question. It's audience submitted. I don't know what referendum or just doing it. So let's start with Beck.
Well, that's an interesting question, and it depends how you want to look at it. If it's a referendum to exceed revenue limits because we need more funds to support city services and create quality of life in our community, then yes, I may support that. If it's a referendum on whether or not we should pay for improvements to Jefferson Park, I would not support that, and here's why. Jefferson Park is the planning process involves the community's input through 3 sessions. It was a process in which people were able to, oh, it's 1 minute, all right, it's done.
That's right, it's 1 minute.
Okay, Kathy.
Thank you. Yes, I do support referendums in the right circumstances, and I think it gives the community a voice in how their money is spent, and it also makes them aware of where this money is going if and when their taxes are increased, so they see the value in where their money is going. In regards to Jefferson Park, I guess I'll use that as an example as well, that that is a big ticket item, and you know, as far as the communications have been so far, that will be spread out over several years, but I believe that a referendum could be appropriate in that situation, especially considering the swimming pool. I am one person that's very much in favor of maintaining our swimming pool, despite the fact that it will cost many millions of dollars to replace. I think that's something that the people of this community need. I believe it's something that will make Menasha a destination, and if we need to create a referendum to see that through and make that realized, I would support that.
Thank you. Stan, 1 minute.
Yes. No, I'm just kidding. You know, recently I was thinking in the back of my mind, I wish there was a referendum, and it was when the school district purchased that building. I don't blame them for purchasing that building for what they got it for. Most people don't know it was 1.1 million, if I'm correct. But when it's $1 million plus, I think it's something you should ask the taxpayers about. Give them more of a voice on something. The Jefferson Park thing, we're going to have a lot of issues with that. I agree with Kathy on the pool. The pool was my babysitter. I think the pool is a wonderful thing. Every time a community loses their pool, they want it back. But yes, I strongly support referendums.
Okay, thank you. Now it's time for closing statements from each of you. And we'll go in reverse order from when we had our intros. So we'll start with Becky. You have 2 minutes for a closing statement.
Once again, I'd like to thank the League of Women Voters, the library, my fellow candidates, and all of you for being here tonight and for your great questions. You can be proud of your community and proud of all that Menasha has accomplished over the last few years. Didn't expect that. I'm running because we're just getting started, and there's still more work to be done. With taxes stable, debt declining, and property values up, I'm excited about our future. Are you? Menasha has become a destination for those looking to buy a home or build a business. The next few years will be filled with opportunities along our waterfront, in our downtown, and in our neighborhoods. I believe Menasha's continued success is dependent on how effectively we listen to each other and collaborate with our partners for common sense solutions, while always keeping an eye on the future and the big picture. If you re-elect me on April 4th, I promise I will continue to work hard for you. I will work with a spirit of cooperation. I will examine issues with an open mind, make every effort to ask the right questions, evaluate the facts, and make decisions based on what's best for Menasha. I will continue working to make Menasha a great place to live and raise a family, and I'm counting on your support on April 4th. Thank you.
Thank you, Becky. We're going to go to Stan next.
I actually did realize that we were going to have a closing statement, so I didn't write one, but I don't think I need one. I want to thank the league. I want to thank everyone for being here, because it shows you actually care as much as we do about the city of Menasha. My opponent may not be here, but I want the voters to know that if I do not win this election, I believe that my opponent will do a very good job. Had talks with her, and she is a sweet person and a very kind individual, and she is like myself. She was born here, raised here, and educated here. Her roots go as deep as mine in this community, and we have that in common, and we care a lot about the city of Menasha. I do want to conclude, though, on one issue that wasn't brought up, and some of you might be, well, why did he end with that? But you know what? This is a big issue for me, because I've noticed it as a serious problem in our community, and that is our streets. Our roads are in awful, awful condition. You probably heard me say a couple times now that I'd like to create or start a new maintenance program. We need to do that. We also have gotten away from our 5-year program for reconstruction of streets. And part of the problem with that is we haven't hired a public works director in close to 9 months now. But I was informed by the mayor at the last council meeting that they have 4 people on board. They're looking at that, and hopefully we can move forward. But if I am elected, let me tell you, that is going to be my priority. I'm not going to be known as, and I hate to say this to Oshkosh, as they had a reputation at one time for poor streets. Menasha has always had a great reputation for the services it provides, and I'm going to make sure we have great streets in this city. Thank you.
As an Oshkosh resident, Stan,
Sorry.
we still have some crappy streets. Kennedy?
All right, thank you. I guess I would just like to conclude with thanking everybody for attending. I was also very impressed at the level of attendance, and I think that echoes people's concerns and the fact that they're paying attention to Menasha, and they're concerned with the direction that we're going. As alderman, I would continue to work with people to help them address their concerns and their needs. I have seen property values going down along Fox Street in the neighborhood where I live. All of the streets on that waterfront were assessed and their values were lowered significantly. I would like to address that and help people on the west side of Doty Island increase their property values. It's a very depressed area right now with numerous vacant buildings and vacant lots. And as your alderman, I would like to see them have the same opportunities to the amenities of this city, and to build upon their dedication to the city as lifetime homeowners. I would also, as Alderman, like to see more long-term planning as our city develops. That's one gap that I see. You know, as I attend council meetings here over the last year and a half, there doesn't seem to be, like Stan said, the 5-year plan. And I would like to see that, you know, resurrected so that, you know, we know where we're going. When people come to our city and they want to know what can they expect if they open a business here. Again, when I talk to business owners downtown and they don't know that the Racine Street Bridge is going to be closed for an entire year, that's not what I consider long-range planning. So in that regard, I would like to see more communication. If not elected alderman, I still plan to stay very involved in the community. As I stated before, I'm an active member of the Rotary and our Doty Island Development Council. I work downtown, and I'm a member of the Business Association there, and those efforts will continue. And I'm always available if people want to reach out for help. Thanks.
Thank you, Kathy. Well, that concludes the forum for District